Coming up in this video, as that is one exception to the rule, oh, they all flew past me. Ah, they're here. We take a look at how to photograph sand martins, one of our summer migrant birds that nest along the coastal cliffs in Cornwall. And get a surprise visit from a conservation success story. Come back. Oh my God, they're all around me. It's that time of the year again. Our sand martins have returned to the UK. Now they're our smallest swallow species and quite possibly one of the hardest birds I've ever tried to photograph. And I just want to start this video by saying that these are my personal preferences, that I found work to capture them in flight. Now you might have a different camera to me, different lighting conditions, a different lens, so please take this with a grain of salt. This is just what works for me, and I hope that it helps some of you. And I think the main thing with bird photography is to enjoy it. Each spring, sand martins migrate up to 6,000 miles from sub-Saharan Africa to the UK, arriving as early as March. They return to the same nesting site year after year and form large colonies, sometimes hundreds, if not thousands strong. And their erratic flight with rapid wing beats and the ability to change direction in a split second is how they catch their prey, as they're aerial insect hunters. Now they catch all of their prey. Was that one behind me? They're doing it now. So as they're swooping around, they're catching their prey mid-air. Now to the naked eye, it's almost invisible, but when you see them flying and changing directions and swooping around, that's what they're doing, they're hunting. Reaching speeds of roughly 30 miles per hour, with around 10 to 11 wing beats per second, and weighing just 13 grams, makes them incredibly difficult to photograph, given their speed and size. Now this beach behind me has to be one of the busiest beaches in the spring and summer in Cornwall. There's surfers, there's dog walkers, there's people having barbecues and parties, so they're very used to people. But I must just say that sand martins are protected by the Wildlife and Countryside Act. So if you do have a colony near you, always keep a really good distance from them. They're a bird that you might want to use a hide with as well, and always a long lens. Now, for wildlife photography, I usually always go out at dawn and dusk, as that is when the magic light is and usually when the animals are more active. But for bird photography in flight, I like to go out in the middle of the day, as that is one exception to the rule. Oh, they all flew past me. Ah, they're here. And that's because I want the brightest possible light that I can have in order to whack my shutter speed up to try and get photographs of them. So I have the Nikon Z9, which is an absolute beast for wildlife photography and filmmaking, and also the Nikon 180 to 600mm lens. Now I am sponsored by Nikon, so do with that information what you will, but I can honestly say that this setup is the best that I've ever had for wildlife photography and filmmaking. So for sand martins, I'll have this set up on high burst mode, 20 frames per second, shooting in RAW. Now this does mean you're going to go away with thousands of photographs that you need to sort through, but I actually quite like that. And also, shooting in RAW gives you that flexibility when you edit. Now, despite it being bright sunlight out here, I'm going to put the ISO to 1000. You're probably thinking this is absolutely crazy. However, I'm going to put the shutter speed to 1/12,800th of a second. And even in this bright sunlight, the images will still be a little bit dark, so you need that ISO. This is always a trade-off with bird photography, because obviously the higher shutter speed you put it at, the more detail you're going to get in the shot. But if it's darker, you've got to crank the ISO way up, so then the image is noisy. But after years of photographing these sand martins, in this bright light condition, I must add, I've found that this really works. I will always choose a faster shutter speed, even if the images look darker in the back of the camera, because I know that I can lighten them later in the edit. Now, I personally use Lightroom, but whatever editing software you use. What I will do with these images, I will use the denoise in the edit suite itself and then just lighten them, bring out the contrast, up the shadow slightly, and that's it. So I want to show you in the back of the camera exactly the settings that I have the camera set on for the sand martins. Let me just bring this round here. So for the focus mode, I have it set up on AFC, continuous autofocus. Then AF area mode, I just have it on auto area AF. I find that that works really well. Then autofocus subject detection options, you get all of these different options in the back of the menu, but of course we're shooting birds, so we have it set up for birds, and that is it. And then it's time to take some photos. After focusing on the nesting holes, I noticed they're swooping all around me and over my head. So I then switched to try and get some photographs of them in flight against the blue sky. So I think I managed to get a few all right shots, and it is around 20 to 5. So I'm gonna now head down onto the beach and film them for the rest of the evening, as this is when they start coming in and around the nesting sites and they all go absolutely crazy, squabbling and fighting. And I actually quite like to be on the beach, so I've got more room to manoeuvre up and down to follow the action with filming them. I come to this beach nearly every day when I'm at home, and what I love is that no day is ever the same. The wildlife is always different, and the sky puts on a completely different show. It's a reminder of just how beautiful our coastline really is, and how much nature we all have on our doorsteps. We don't need to travel halfway around the world to have unforgettable wildlife encounters. We have so much here. And it didn't take long until I filmed something that was a first for me. Oh my God, they're all around me. As they started to fly back to the nest holes for the evening, I managed to film some behaviour that I hadn't seen before. Sand martins are serially monogamous, meaning that a male and a female will pair up for one breeding season to raise young, and after will likely go their separate ways. But extra pair copulation does happen, where other males will try to mate with a female that is already paired up. I filmed one sand martin that was perched on a leaf just outside a nest hole. At first, I wasn't sure what he was doing, but then I realised he must have been nest guarding. This is what males will do sometimes to prevent other males trying to mate with his female. as each time other sand martins would attempt to get close to the female, he would chase them away, using his leaf as almost a guard lookout perch, protecting his female. In between the arguments, many of the birds were preening themselves on the old bramble branches hanging down from the dunes. Filming the birds like this was really special. And if the sun wasn't setting, I could have stayed here all night. Then, just as I was about to leave...
Oh my God, 2 chuffs to finish the day.
Come back! Once locally extinct in Cornwall, they are now making a comeback and can be seen regularly along the stretch of coastline where I live. But it is still a lovely surprise when they turn up. So the sun is just starting to set, so I think I'm going to call it a day. Now, I do hope that some of you found this video helpful, and as I said, there's no right or wrong with bird photography as long as you're still enjoying it. It's such an important tool to communicate our wildlife to other people and to make them understand how extraordinary our species are, and that's why it's so important. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.